For white blood cells, I find no value in looking at the absolute number because they're not a homogeneous group of cells. In other words, up to about 97%, 95% or more for white blood cells are neutrophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes. Neutrophils and monocytes increase during aging, lymphocytes decrease during aging. So your white blood cell counts could be stable and you could have divergent things going on at the same time. So I find no value in looking at the absolute number of white blood cells, but if we did, 3.5 to 6 would be my optimal. So Brian's would be a bit too low, but then we could take it even a step further because, people often say like, your optimal ranges are based on sick populations. Well, first of all, I'm looking at the studies that have millions of people, if they exist, if not millions and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, the biggest studies that exist, large population-based averages. Could you make a case that less than my quote unquote optimal range, 3.5 to 6 is optimal at the individual level for certain people? Yeah, potentially. So could Brian's 3.1 be optimal, even though it's a bit lower than the 3.5? It could be, but it goes back to this division of the neutrophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes. If, for example, his lymphocytes are less than 1,000, so that would be 1.0 of the 3.1, and then his neutrophils and monocytes are, say, 2,000, neutrophils and monocytes would be pretty close to optimal in that context, but his lymphocytes being 1,000 would be far away from optimal. And we could even, I know we talked about this a bit before, but you could even subdivide the lymphocytes into CD4, CD8, which is what's known as an immune health grade. So 1,000 lymphocytes will be subdivided into T cells. And I know I'm going to lose people here because it lost me. We get into the weeds, but this is where the beauty is. We've got to really understand that the depths and the mechanism of our biomarkers. So the lymphocytes getting further subdivided into T cells, B cells, and K cells. If you don't have enough of certain of those cell types to fight off infection, you're going to be more likely to get infections, stay infected for longer, increase your risk of death from infectious mortality, and all-cause mortality risk is a part of that story. So even if his neutrophils and monocytes were quote-unquote optimal, but lymphocytes were too low, leading to a worse immune health grade based on CD4, CD8, 3.1 may not be optimal. So we would need more context to really properly evaluate if that's quote-unquote optimal. But in terms of the Lustgarten definition of optimal, SEAM in your data would probably be closer to optimal than Brian's.